Hi, and welcome back to David Pattenson's Accused Friends. Today I want to talk about the issues of race relations and false accusations. Usually when I speak, it's about false accusations of sexual assault, and I wanted to sort of draw the public's attention to football, which is a big part of the popular culture. I'm definitely a football fan, and it's tough to watch a game nowadays on Sky Sports without the issue of racism from the crowd being brought up, and Gary Neville's sort of on there talking about how racism is sort of endemic in society and all this sort of stuff. And there was a game about 1 to 2 weeks ago. It was Chelsea at Tottenham, and the Chelsea defender, whose name escapes me, was claiming there was racism coming from the crowd, and the Sky Sports pundits sort of made a big thing about it and talked about the supporters getting lifetime bans and this sort of thing. And subsequent to that match, the new Tottenham Stadium has CCTV of every seed in the ground, and no, they haven't been able to find any evidence that anyone was committing any racism to that player in that particular instance. And there has been no arrests made over this accusation, and it was it was a false accusation. It may have been innocuous. The defender may have heard something or whatever, and misheard what he heard. But the pundits were all really quick to rush to judgment, and Ashley Cole in particular was saying how this is terrible, but yet made no mention of his former teammate John Terry, and the fact that Ashley Cole defended John Terry in the Anton Ferdinand race case, which was 8 or 9 years ago now. So it's okay to have a lifetime ban against an anonymous fan who doesn't actually exist. But again, they made no mention of the John Terry case. And, I got nothing against John Terry, but I just think we're going to see a lot more of this in football, this double standard. Fans, real or innocent, real or imagined, can be, given lifetime bans or tossed out of football pre-trial or pre-court case, whereas a player that is a multi-million-pound asset for a football club, are they going to be given a lifetime ban for the same offence? If you have a 100 million pound footballer, can you just give him what kind of clubs afford to give that player a lifetime ban and write off their 100 million pound asset or not? And this is what happens when you have these sort of policies, the two, not only lifetime ban, but you also hear the policy of zero tolerance. We're a club that has a zero tolerance policy. So if you're a fan with your £40 ticket, lifetime ban. If you're a player with that we've spent £100 million on, do you get the same one lifetime ban is the question. And also this issue of players walking off the field. We have a zero tolerance policy towards racism, so we're going to walk off the field if we hear of any. But what if your team's winning a big match? There was the game Manchester United against Manchester City at Man City, and Manchester United were winning the game. A couple of their players were getting racist abuse from the fans, but United didn't walk off because they were winning the game. Oh, maybe not. Maybe they just thought it wasn't bad enough. But if they were losing the game and were seeking a sporting advantage, would they have walked off at that point? And I think this is going to be something that is discussed if and when it happens. I think it's inevitable. It will happen at some point, and at some point soon in big games. And the question's going to be asked, well, why didn't you walk off in that game, but you did walk off in this game? And the reason I'm talking about this is to do with false accusations and the right to due process. I mean, if the supporters, are breaking the rules of the code of conduct for the ground or for the club, the club can take whatever action, or they can refer it to police, and the police can take the appropriate action. But what you're seeing is these clubs having an assumption of guilt pre-trial, and if the fan exists, which was the case in the Man City-Man United game, or in the Tottenham-Chelsea game, where the fan or fans did not actually exist. And, we presume their guilt anyway, and we call for a lifetime ban when they're a faceless, nameless person. So I want to draw people's attention to a football race case I came across, which has not been talked about by Gary Neville and co. And it's a court case from October of last year, so about 60 days ago, and it was a game. The court case was at the end of October, but the actual football match in question was at Brighton's game at home to Burnley last February. And there's a defender for Brighton. Bong is his second name. First name, I think, is Gaetan, Gaetan. And this guy, Bong, the defender for Brighton, was racially abused by two Burnley fans. They were away fans at the Brighton game, and the police arrested them, and they were charged, and they had to appear at Brighton Magistrates Court in October. That's when this case was happening. And the case collapsed because of failings of disclosure by the CPS, which sort of caught my attention. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. And the article says serious failings have led to the collapse of a prosecution over allegations that racist slurs were hurled at Brighton defender Gaetan Bong during a Premier League match in February. Magistrates criticised the Crown Prosecution Service for failing to locate video footage for the case in time, despite trying to start the trial for a third time on Tuesday. Nathan Higgins is one of the accused, with his dad, who has his name is Stuart Higgins, and these are the two accused men of committing this racist offence, hurling homophobic insults at the player and at home fans. And it says prosecutor Dominic Dukowski opened the case, describing how a witness had allegedly overheard both the Higgins using bad language or racist language. However, during cross-examination of the first witness, the defence lawyer raised concerns that vital police video footage was missing. The defence lawyer said that police body-worn video was crucial evidence for the case but had not been provided to the defence. She told the court, the CPS have manipulated an advantage so as to thwart the defence in getting a fair trial. ID was an issue, and in these circumstances it would be wholly wrong to proceed with this matter. And therefore, bearing in mind this is a not guilty plea, we could stay these proceedings, which means void or cancel the proceedings. And she pointed out that this was the third day on which the prosecution had attempted to start the trial with evidence that was promised but had not been provided. And the prosecutor of the CPS, Mr. Dukowski, denied there had been manipulation, because it's not like the CPS ever manipulated these court cases, but added there may have been errors and there may have been a failure of disclosure. He called for the case to remain live and for it to return at a later date. But chairman of the bench, the magistrate Chris Bell, said our findings are, in the Crown's own words, there have been serious failings in bringing evidence in this case. On that basis, we are not prepared to adjourn this trial, and we find that in the round, given these failings, the defendants would not receive a fair trial. We take the exceptional steps, therefore, of staying these proceedings, which means ending the court case, and the Higgins father-son accused were free to go. So, we don't know if the Higgins people were guilty or not guilty, but the Crown prosecution could not provide the evidence promised to to present it in court and give them a fair trial. So even though they were named in a race case, there's not any evidence that they committed these offences. No doubt Sky Sports would have, had they been speaking at half-time or full-time, would have been calling for them to have lifetime bans, but they're not able to be prosecuted in a court case. So the reason I bring this up is to say that, false accusations can occur in these race cases as well as the sexual assault realm. And I think what's interesting is CPS have a very alert political antenna, and they want to respond to the political winds of society and, get convictions or get people into court on politically incorrect accusations rather than focus on the evidence. Is there evidence against this person or isn't there? And, have these clean court cases. It's almost like we'll do the prosecution because we're under pressure from Sky Sports or from the Premier League to, initiate these proceedings rather than having the sufficient evidence to find these people guilty or not. So kind of a waste of taxpayers' money. You're trying to force through a court case that is, has not been properly prepared for. So I think I'm glad I was able to bring this to your attention. I think there's going to be a lot more of these race cases coming up. The football community has pigeonholed themselves into such a tight box with fans, banning fans, lifetime bans, zero tolerance policy, and it's going to create, excuse me, it's going to create a vacuum where, let's say a player wants to transfer from a club, he can just racially abuse one of his teammates, get the lifetime ban or not, and try and force the transfer. You can have situations where a whole stadium is, chanting racist language, but does the club want to lifetime ban their entire fan base? I don't know. We'll just see. Maybe it won't happen. But I do think the football community has given themselves no room for error, and it can only end badly for them. So I hope you find this video interesting. Hope it generates some thought and debate, and look forward to seeing you again soon.